Hello, everyone. This is Stammer with you. I'm the co-founder of QoQo. It's been a while since we created a full walkthrough of QoQo, and QoQo have evolved since then to something much bigger compared to the previous videos. We've added a lot of tools, a lot of features, and we keep adding as we move forward. So we thought that we share with you the latest update, best practices on how to get the best of latest improvements and tools that we have added to QoQo. So for those watching this for the first time and they're not aware of what exactly is QoQo, so basically QoQo is a UX Figma plugin that helps designers save a lot of time on the main focus at the moment is the UX research, but hopefully as we move forward, it's gonna be we're gonna be maybe doing wireframing, maybe other features related to design. To get QoQo, you need to go to Figma's community. So go to Figma, go to Figma community, and search for QoQo. I mean, it works for both Figma and FigJam, so depends on your preference. You can either use it in Figma or FigJam. Just click try it out, go ahead and install it. Once it's installed, it would require that you sign up for an account. Once you signed up, you get a few days of free trial, and we are launching a starter plan where you get to use it more for free. Now, once you've installed it, just open the plugin. You land on the home page and you'll see there's few tutorial videos on how to use different tools and features. Okay. There's also a way that you can provide us with your feedback, is like you want to report a bug, or if there's improvements that you want to suggest, you can do that from here. Your main menu is on the top left, so you can access your account, privacy, if you want to log out. And I want to highlight the privacy. So just to preface our discussion today, any information that you'll be sharing within QoQo is private. It's not stored or it's not used to retrain or train any sort of AI models, okay? One functionality that we recently added, which is collapsing QoQo. So basically, if you click here, you get a minimized version of the plugin. So you basically can drag it somewhere outside of your canvas, so it gets out of your way, especially if you're running a workshop or collaborative or with the stakeholders. So that's one feature that I've myself found very useful. Now, starting from the top, when you hover on the left menu, you get a chat, which is basically similar to the many chat-based AIs out there. I use it early on when I get like just a notification that there's an upcoming project and the project is going to be about this problem that we need to solve. If I want to sort of an ideate, okay, let's say, or maybe I want to refresh my memory about I'll give an example of competitive analysis. Totally forgot what was the 10 principles of competitive analysis, and I want to ask QoQo what are the 10 principles of competitive analysis, and it's been very kind with me regarding the it's very flexible when it comes to spelling mistakes. So as any other chat tool out there, it just answers, but I want to highlight or call out a feature here that we also pushed last month, which is compared to other tools, what you can do in QoQo, but you can't do in other tools, is that he can highlight multiple items in a list, for example, right click, make stickies. And now you have your talking points on maybe next workshop. Okay, I use this with clients. For example, I had one client who was building a tool similar to Spotify. Going into a session, it was further down the line of, maybe phase two of the development of the product, and there was a question about verifying the artist being onboarded to the, how do we verify the artist being onboarded to the platform. So I basically asked QoQo, give it some context, asked it what would be the methods of verifying the artist. It gave me 10 suggestions. Um, Four of them made sense to me, and I presented them to the client in form of sticky notes, just to enrich the discussion. And the client really liked two of those solutions. So again, AI, can be a very effective suggestion engine. Okay, just ask it about anything, any problem at any stage of your UX research. Either, just to avoid feeling lonely, because again, designers, especially at the beginning of the process, we always stare at a blank screen, feeling lonely and don't know where to start. Having a companion, that has all the knowledge of the internet, just asking it to give you suggestions that, of course, you can validate, but again, use it as a suggestion engine to avoid, staring at a blank screen. So I asked QoQo at the beginning of the workshop with the stakeholder or the client, gave me the answer. 5 minutes in, I was ready with, a few suggestions. I shared my screen, started the discussion with the client. So this is one of the many cases that where you can use the chat. The context window, or meaning the character limit, in other terms, is about 14,000 characters for the chat. You can drag and drop, let's say, an interview, or copy and paste, if I may say, an interview with a user, start analyzing and creating the same methods. You can start creating a user persona and so on. So it's, even if you bring your context to QoQo, again, it will help you do that within your workflow. It's in Figma, it's in FigJam, compared to working in ChatGPT, which is, it's going to be tiring to start copy pasting from there. Okay. So just to recap, chat, just the regular chat, it just works in Figma, creates sticky, and it helps on every stage of the UX workflow. Okay, this could be discovery stage, even just, ideation later on in the workflow. It works, but yeah. Moving on to the next one, which I find it pretty handy, which is the document chat. Okay, so usually clients come with the guidelines, they come with the project description, and in this case, document chat is very useful. So basically, you can upload a document and a PDF, just not any document. For now, we just support PDF with a certain limitation. It's a beta at the moment, and it's just one document. In the future, we plan to support multiple documents, but for now, it's just one document. And again, there's many ways to use that tool, either during the ideation or the discovery stage, where the client comes, you haven't spoken to the stakeholder or the client, they just have one document with you and it's sitting there. Either you go and read it all, or you can ask QoQo to summarize it and then follow up with questions. Okay. And again, same thing. If you like something, or you think this is a topic for discussion that you need to raise with your team or with the stakeholder, right click, make it sticky. And now you have, a topic that way you can raise on your next workshop. What's good as well about the document chat is that you can ask Coco about anything outside of the context of the document. So in this example, we had someone who had a problem is that there's a current solution that they implemented 3 or 4 years ago, but now to stay competitive, they want to innovate. Okay, meaning that they want to explore new ideas. Okay, so it's not in the document. The document just describes the current solution, the current state, and we want to explore beyond that. So what I did is basically I used the document as reference, walk Coco through it, summarize it, okay, just like baby steps towards the goal. Then finally I asked it, okay, this is the current state. How can I improve it if we're not innovating? How can I improve it? And it suggested, again, I think few, like 7 or 8 suggestions. 2 of them were very relevant. Okay. And I'm taking them to the next discussion. But then my follow up question was, okay, but how can I innovate using something that is totally different than the current state? And it suggested 5 new technologies. 3 of them are very feasible. The technologies out there, they're available, and I think they might be valuable to the stakeholders or the client that we raised them in an ideation session. Again, similar to the chat, you can do personas, journey mapping. You can do affinity mapping on one document if it's an interview. Um, what I find is you really need to be careful with the questions, how you phrase it. I really like to use the term list because then it forces Coco to output structured data, okay, rather than going into paragraphs and paragraphs of text. No, it structures the data. And if I just want to like a description after each of the insights, then I ask it listed with insight with description, for example. Okay. I can copy, of course, the text. As I mentioned, you can create sticky notes from any of the insights that is brought up here. So that is the document chat. Then there's the discovery questionnaire, which is I feel is like it's pretty important for any sort of you don't have to be a UX designer, even UI designers, product designer, anyone. If you're starting a new project and the client has, even if they have provided a document, you need to have your own questions, bring your own questions to the table. So we have allowed you to generate 3 types of questionnaires, either if it's a feature-based project, or if it's a web or a mobile application, or it's just a landing marketing page, for example. So just click on, select any of those, click generate, and it would go on and generate the questions. What I like to do is the output that you will see in a minute, okay, I copy it into Google Doc. It would be good, of course, if in the future we just export it from Coco to a Google Doc. But what I do is I copy it for now into a Google Doc. I style it, maybe change the colors based on the client or the branding of the company that I'm collaborating with, this agency. If there's any changes that I want to apply to the questions, and I share it with the client. And there's 2 ways to approach this. Either you share it with the client, they take the time to answer it. But what I found, like it was the first time that the client told me, no, let's do it live. That was last week. We got all the questions answered, I think, in 45 minutes. And it was, very effective because, again, the quality of the questions that you get will inform you to the end to end, from the beginning of the discovery till, you're at the beginning of the wireframing So you'll see that there's some questions that are relevant to the guidelines and so on, the technical requirements as well. Those are all covered in the questionnaire. I want to highlight as well here is that you can take the questionnaire then and feed it back to the document chat. So this is the output, okay? Just copy it into document or just walk the client through it if you're happy with it. So if the client is decided that they want to do it live in a video, you record the video, you take the transcript, and you can feed it back to the document chat. So rather than going, if you're trying to extract insights from that discussion or workshop with the client, you just feed it back to the chat. As you can see here, I've already fed the document chat with a discovery questionnaire, okay? And start chatting, extracting the insights. So you could share with the rest of the team if someone, it doesn't have to be design team. Even if you can inform product owners or developers on technical requirements. So once you have done that, you have extracted your insight using the document chat, then you can summarize it and then go to the design brief. So the design brief is basically you creating the first alignment with the client. So yeah, this is the information that you've provided us, okay? But we want to align with you that this is the scope of the project, okay? So what I did here is I just click try example. So we provide for each tool 3 examples that you can test and see the output. You can select the language of the output in case you're dealing with a French client, for example, or any sort of multilingual projects that require that you deal in a different language than English. You just click generate. Give it a moment to start generating. I'm gonna go ahead and pause till it stops generating. Okay, so it took less than a minute to generate the output. I'm going to minimize QoQo to move it away off my canvas. So this is, you can use this for a workshop that is after the kickoff or the introductions, you can follow up just to get an alignment with the client that this is the scope. Okay, this is what we are going to be working on. So, of course, if you've provided QoQo with more information, the output would be more than this, but it would give you project overview. You need to fill in the name, the client name, maybe the contact information or the points of contact. A target audience. In this case, in the examples we made it specific to one persona, but in the case of a client that I had last week or the week before, there was about 7 personas that was extracted. Okay. And it comes with the personas are extracted with their scenarios, and we'll see that this is beneficial later on as we use the persona tool. Project goals, and what I like to do is be ready with empty stickies that are different color, let's say green, okay, just to give the client the impression that this is a collaborative workshop. If there's any insight that they want to bring to the table, just let us know while we're at it, and we'll add it to the project goals or the constraints or whatever. So now I have high level or broad verification and confirmation of the scope, the personas, the constrained assumptions, competitors. Pretty important if I'm going to be doing a competitor analysis for the client to tell me who are the competitors, maybe talk a bit about them, just to set the success criteria, deliverables, phases. Again, this is something that you want to edit. You always need to review the output from the AI, put your touch on it, verify it with the stakeholders or the users, depending on which phase of the research you're at. So with that, you now have an idea of the personas. Okay, you have an idea of the or the audience, and you have the idea of the scenario. Now you can go to the user interview. So if the budget and the time allows to do user interviews, and of course this is something that we recommend, that you always do user interviews, although you might have your AI generated insights, but still you need to do user interviews. uh, we know we've all been there, where we either sat there in front of a white blank page trying to figure out what to ask the interviewee, or the participants, or we scour the internet, search the internet for templates for user interviews. With QoQo, you can avoid wasting all your time. You just give it the persona demographic, the scenario, uh, the topics that you want to discuss with the persona. I'll try an example just to speed up the process here. Starting from the demographic, for example, and this is how you should be structuring your persona when you're dealing with QoQo. So you give it, an age range, okay, then the occupation. You need to also mention the location, because culture differs, regulations in different regions of the world differs, and you'll be amazed with the insights that once you add the location or which region they are in, you'll be amazed with the quality of insights you can get from an AI. It understands the context of that specific insights, and it generates different output based on that. So you need to be specific. Okay. uh, Once you have fed it with the demographics, you can go on with the scenarios. So in this case, the scenario is that you have all the demographic is that this is a UX designer working in a mid-sized tech company in San Francisco, and they have a problem eliciting accurate requirements from stakeholders due to ineffective user interviews. And they are considering automating the generation of interview questions as a solution. So basically, that's the case we're looking at now with QoQo. We're pretty lucky that this is the first one that we got, considering that we have 3 examples here. Yeah, so the topics could be, of course, as any user interview, is that you start asking them about their daily life, their design process, challenging maybe that they're facing, and so on. Okay, how about the next topic is how they currently address this problem. Okay, then or maybe have they used, historically, have they used any tools to try to solve this problem? Then we need to verify, are they willing uh, to use an AI tool in the process? We need to explore it. Are they open to that? Are they not open to that? What solution would they consider given a limited budget? So yeah, I mean, that's the situation that is perfect for AI usage. What if you have limited budget? How would you go about solving the problem? Okay. So again, you select the output language, you click generate, same, you give it a minute, and I'm gonna pause till it generates the output. And we're back. So as you can see now, it has generated not just the questions, even the script for you to follow, where you can just have an introduction, replace it with your name, the company name, and so on. And yeah, it gives you suggestions for each of the topics that you have mentioned in your input. And of course, I mean, again, you need to look at the output, try to give it your touch, add your touch to it, and try to get the human value into it. Because again, AI is pretty limited, doesn't have that critical thinking that we have. Maybe as designers, we have more context. We're aware of the situation that maybe each user that we're interviewing or participant is in, then we need to maybe modify the questions. But it just saved me a lot of time by generating the questions or giving me about 80% of the questions that I might want to use. So I've been using this feature for since we launched QoQo, okay? And every time I think like, and I've shared it, the output I've shared with many stakeholders, project owners before going into interviews or team colleagues. And every time, we collaborate on modifying, but it's almost like 80 to 90% of the output is kept intact. This is how good it is. Okay. So now you've done your user interviews and you want to move on to, let's say you've done 50 to 30 user interviews, or sorry, 5 to 2 to 15 to 30 user interviews. And you want to go to the next step, which is you want to synthesize this information into something that you can create a report about. Okay, so this is where affinity mapping tool or clustering tool could come into play. So now you have, let's say you have your several stickies that you've extracted and they're sitting on your canvas. Again, you don't have to create the stickies yourself. You can take the transcript of your interviews, feed it to the document chat, select where the insights are, or ask the document chat and then select the list of insights extracted by the document chat, send it as stickies to the canvas. So again, even analyzing the interviews, you don't have to do the manual work, okay? You can use QoQo within FigJam or Figma to do that. So once you've done that, okay, there's two ways that we allow you to get your insights into QoQo Affinity Mapping tool. So either you have the transcript and it's a big chunk of text, okay, like for example here, if we consider we have the answer, we copy paste it here, okay, and you see it's copy pasted here, okay, and you click cluster. And if it's a user interview with the answer, it will extract the insight and it cluster everything for you. Or if you have the stickies, as we mentioned, sitting on your canvas, you just select all the stickies, okay? And what QoQo does, it would detect that you have selected some stickies on your canvas or text, or could be just text, doesn't have to be sticky, any text object is fine, okay? And it would feed it to QoQo, as you can see here, and you just click cluster and you give it a moment again to do the work in the background. I'm going to use one of the examples because the insights here are meaningless to clustering. I'm going to be using an example, okay? And just going to hit cluster. Gonna take a pause again, just to give it time to do work in the background. Okay, back again. So in this case, it did output some stickies. I'm not sure about the quality of the output. Depending on the example, maybe the quality of the example itself was not as good as I expected, okay? But yeah, it did the clustering of the raw data into one theme, which is user interview. Maybe that's the case. One item I want to highlight here is for most of our tools, we have a history option. So let's say you're done with work today, you want to come back and continue working tomorrow. When you open QoQo again, you can always fetch back your work or retrieve your work from history like this. You just click select which do you want to retrieve, and then click restore, and it just outputs, sends the outputs to your canvas again. It doesn't do regeneration. It's your work is saved and stored in our memory database and is just sent back to your canvas again. Okay. Yeah, so moving on to the next tool. So the persona, I mean that's one of our it's our first tool basically. And again, I want to reiterate on what we always say is uh, this is good for a suggestion. Don't use it as your only reference. Always validate the output. Don't take it for granted. Again, AIs lacks the critical thinking, but if you lack the time, you lack the budget, you want a sorry broad understanding of the persona. You can even do it before you interview a participant just to understand does it match, okay. And I want to bring something to the table here. I mean, anyone who had the chance to do a lot of user interviews know that people could lie, okay. It's not just AI that could hallucinate, it's people could lie. Like if you work in fintech, you know that people might not disclose, you know, there's many reasons. Like if fintech, even if you're interviewing internal user, they might uh, not be frank with the answers because they know that there might be ramifications on their jobs if they answer frankly, okay. So this is where, you know, one of the cases where AI could be helpful as well. You can compare, you know, the output from, you know, or the insights you collected from a user interview versus what you have generated with the AI. So this is one case. The other case, as I mentioned, no time or budget, then yeah, in this case, AI would be better than not doing user persona at all. Um, so I've been in many cases where there was no budget in the company to, especially in the current economic situation, there's no budget, but I have to do my own research. Um, so this is where QoQo was very useful. I try to validate the output as much as possible through workshops. And what I found is that in many cases, QoQo generates uh, insights that are hidden even from stakeholders, okay, and has an impact on the business. I don't want to go into much details, but every time I use QoQo, there's always one or two insights that were very useful for the business, not just the design project. Okay, so going back to the user persona, again, like we discussed before, you need to be specific with the demographic. And maybe in many cases you want to generate several times so you can refine depending on your output. You just with your critical thinking look at the output, or maybe I could get better output if I feed QoQo with a better more insight into the demographic. Then the scenario that we remember, we mentioned that the scenario is something that you can get out from the design brief. Okay, you can extract from the design brief. You add it, just add it here. Or if you already have the scenario, you just add it here and you click generate. Let me choose another example. Of course, I could have selected the output language. Again, useful if you're in a project that is in a different language. And I'm gonna go ahead and pause again until it's done. Okay, and we're back. And as you can see, it generated my first persona, okay, with the insights in user goals, about user goals, needs, motivation, frustrations, tasks, and opportunities. And from opportunities, I could get a broad idea about epics or features that I could implement in my design. Again, pretty broad at this stage because we haven't gone into the user journey mapping yet. If I have multiple personas, I could go ahead and generate multiple personas. And again, what's excellent or perfect about QoQo is that you don't have to go through the workflow step. I can go back a step. For example, remember we mentioned if we have multiple personas, can go back to the affinity mapping, select them together, and then cluster. So now if those are multiple internal users and you want to create an archetypical persona, okay, because you want to design to one internal persona rather than multiple, then you can cluster and then create one archetypical persona that you're designing for. Okay, so again, you can go back in time or in order and use affinity mapping, although you've been working on the persona, just to make it more either useful as you or more presentable if you're going to be doing a workshop or doing a report and you want to just present one archetypical persona. Now, the journey mapping. So similar to the persona, you want to understand, what the specific persona or archetypical persona you just created, how they're going to be interacting with the future state or the suggested state for your solution. Okay. So you just, again, similar input, you just feed that persona to your journey mapping tool. Then you feed the demographic, you feed the scenario, and again, you click generate. Okay, and again, I'm gonna pause until it's done. Okay, and we're back. Yeah. So this is the output. So basically, it mapped out the journey map of this specific persona, and within that specific scenario, it mapped out about 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 phases, and under each phase, it map the tasks, the mindsets, the pain points, and opportunities. So again, a pretty advanced point and structure point where you can take this, gives you a head start, where you can build on, bring your insights, maybe extract insights that you were not aware of, validate that on a workshop with the stakeholder. Okay, and then that would inspire basically on the opportunities section, that would inspire features or epics that you can then take to prioritization. So you can start picking stickies and telling the asking the client or the stakeholders, and as well as the engineering team, doing a prioritization depending on which style of prioritization exercise you're following. That would give you an idea on what kind of features you are going to be building, okay, or designing for. Once you've had that set, you've had your prioritization, now you can go to the information architecture. So same thing, it has, you notice that the persona is carried over with us from one exercise to another. You don't have to retype it, it's just carried over unless you need to modify it. Then there's the input for the application that you use. So think of describing, I'm building this type of application or this type of solution, and those are the features, okay? Those are the features included in that solution, okay? Then, again, you hit generate based on that. And what it does, again, it would give you a draft of, an information architecture or a sitemap, depending on what exactly you're building. You can use it as a draft, okay? And again, you can discuss it with a client on another workshop or the same workshop, depending on the time availability, and verify, is there something missing, is something that we're not aware of, is something that is not in scope. So again, saves you tons of time, gives you suggestions, and gives you a head start. Again, avoiding that blank screen dilemma at the beginning of working on any of those steps of your research. So as you can see here, it suggested a platform, a specific platform with a home page. This is the main pages, this is the sub pages, and the features under each of the pages. Okay, so again, giving you a boost or a head start where you can use moving forward. Finally, I want to mention that those tools that we have discussed in the past 40 minutes, that those were all UX based or research based. The only tool that we have that might be spilling over into the UI design is the copywriting. So we have included that tool because we understand that even if you're wireframing sometimes, or even if you wireframing to do usability testing uh, without having copy, uh, both the stakeholders and the interview participants, they lose context, and I've seen this happen many times, and you lose time on the interview because what happens is text or copy adds a lot of context to whatever wireframe or sketches or whatever that you do. That's the reality. If you're presenting your wireframes without proper text and using just filler text, then you lose. You're not doing it right. You're probably going to get wrong impressions. Okay, while if you put some text that is relevant, it doesn't have to be the final. Okay, it would help the stakeholders and the participant in your interviews to understand what exactly they're looking at. So that's it for today. Uh, if you have suggestions on how can we improve QoQo moving forward, just let us know. Comment in the comment section below, or send us an. So hope you find it helpful. Thank you for watching this.